Welcome back, Wargamers. It's been a long time since we've had an episode, but I've been on the road doing some work and haven't had a chance to get back here in the hobby bunker and do a new video for you guys. But just to get you guys up to date, finally getting around to putting together the finishing touches on the last of that Adeptus Custodes Gladius Dreadknight, or Gladius Dreadnought, whatever it is. Missing a few pieces, but thank goodness this time I didn't glue the shield on sideways, so now my other one looks ridiculous by comparison. But now I've got 4 of these Adeptus Custodes Dreadnoughts and one of the Telemon Dreadknights back in the case and ready to bust out the Retributor Gold spray you see right here behind me to get these guys primed up in gold and then black their bases out and get things started. But enough out of that. That's what's going on in the hobby world. Started working on, well, one more thing. Started working on the kill team conversion for the Gene Stealer cults. I know you can't really see it with this stupid webcam, but doing alternative heads. Not really sure if I like them yet. They don't fit quite right, so I'm going to have to like take it off, trim a little bit off the back of the neck, and then get that going. So I wanted to dive in now that we're finally past most of the Idoneth Deepkin new releases. You'll know that one of my last videos was about the Van Saar gang for Necromunda. Those are really awesome models coming out here soon, so those are up for pre-order now. You'll be able to pick them up this Saturday, which is going to be awesome, and I totally expect a lot of customized Imperial Guard armies coming out of these models, and they probably will make a great addition to Kill Team as well as, of course, to Necromunda. Let's dive down and talk about what's new today in the Games Workshop world. They seem to have dodged the same bullet that FFG has received today when FFG, which is Fantasy Flight Games, announced the second edition of a very popular game called X-Wing. And if you haven't played X-Wing Miniatures game, it's alright. If you watched my Tanks video, they play kind of similar. At least first edition X-Wing did. I don't know what second edition is going to play like. Supposedly a lot better, more intuitive and whatever, but it's been a lot of controversy on Facebook amongst different gaming groups. A lot of people upset and a lot of people excited for it. So if you happen to play X-Wing, comment below what your thoughts are on the second edition. We're going to dive into some of the news here. And today, Games Workshop has announced one of the new upcoming codexes is going to be Codex Deathwatch. And we've got some previews to go through here. You can check this out on Warhammer Community on their website. It's today's most recent release along with this morning's Warhammer Live, if you want to go back and watch that not live. Warhammer previously known as Live. And then let's take a quick moment to look at the rumor engine. Comment below what your thoughts are here. Clearly looks like some kind of smoke. And I see a lot of 3D printing marks that are here on this. And this may, yep, and this even looks like is a black and white of a painted miniature because you can see the color change here as well as some of the brush strokes and highlights in it. But what do you guys think that's from? To be fair, I don't know. It could be like a familiar of some sort. Is that a flower opening on the bottom? Are we even looking at it right side up? Because they've been known to rotate these things on us. But, you know, if this is your first time watching the channel, we talk about all things war games. Mostly Games Workshop stuff because that seems to be the most popular. But just a little bit of everything from time to time. Some games that are cheap, some games that are fun. All around, just all different parts of the hobby. Sometimes I even do painting tutorials and stuff like that. So hit the subscribe button and hit the bell next to it for notifications. That way you can get notifications when I post videos like these. I don't yet have a set schedule, so I apologize for those that were looking forward to more recent videos from me, but I was traveling around California and various locations filming and doing stuff like that for part of my day job. So here we are. We've got Codex Deathwatch, and this is a pretty in-depth preview. Also, you'll notice that they've launched the Warhammer 40,000 combat roster, and I've seen a lot of conjecture about that as well. I'm deviating here, but comparing it to Battle Scribe, comparing it to Quartermaster and things like that. You know, whatever happened to the good old-fashioned army builder where you just had to buy the CD and install the thing. So here we've got the Codex for the Deathwatch. And the Deathwatch are one of those armies that I have yet to ever pick up. I've contemplated buying the Get Started Deathwatch box quite a few times. And I totally like the flying vehicle they've got for it, the Nova Star or whatever that's called. But I don't see a lot of people playing these. They can be awesomely tactical. I haven't picked up that the box set that has the Gene Stealer cults and the Deathwatch in it, but I tell you, after getting these Gene Stealer cult Miniatures, it's tempting, somewhat tempting. But I think I'm just going to try to stick to just the Gene Stealer Cults that came in the infantry box, and just try to get my miles out of them with Necromunda and dual purpose with playing them in Kill Team. So let's take a look at some of the special rules since they're sneak peeking those out here. And here's one of the special abilities you've got. So for 1 command point, you can use this Deathwatch stratagem. So this is available to the entire force. And so you use this stratagem just before a Deathwatch infantry model from your army attacks a vehicle with a weapon that can fire special issue ammunition. So you have to have one of the bolters or other types of weapons available that can fire special ammunition. And then for 1 command point, you get to fire 1 bolter shot. So you only get to make a single hit roll. So you could potentially miss it. So it's an all or nothing type of roll when you're talking about using this stratagem. But it allows you to hit the target. The target suffers D3 mortal wounds. So you don't have to roll to wound. There's no armor saves. It's just boom. Basically, you're gonna roll on a 3+. They're gonna hit, assuming that there's no modifiers or anything like that. And then if you do, D3 mortal wounds on the vehicle. So it's not going to help you knock out characters unless, of course, that character happens to also be a vehicle, like a Blood Angels Librarian Dreadnought or something like that. But that's pretty powerful. And for 1 command point, you know, and especially with the fact bringing about additional command points for some of the most common-sized armies that we've been playing, I see these types of 1 command point stratagems being used quite a bit more often. So here's mission tactics. If we want to dive into these guys, they've got Venator Tactics. When attacking an enemy unit with the troops battlefield roll, you can re-roll wound rolls of 1. So had marbles in my mouth there, but that's not bad. So Venator Tactics. When attacking an enemy unit with the fast attack battlefield roll, you can re-roll wound rolls of 1, so that's alright. These seem to be somewhat similar. Dominatus lets you do the same against elites. Malleus, when attacking heavy support or Lord of War, you re-roll wound rolls of 1. Purgatus Tactics lets you go after the HQ, and Raptor's Tactics lets you go after flyers. So basically, they've got re-rolls of 1 to wound against some type of thing there, depending on the mission tactics. So it says the mission tactics ability allows the Deathwatch to adjust their fighting style dependent on your opponent. At the start of the game, you'll get to pick a mission tactic which corresponds to a battlefield roll. So once per game, so this is good because if you're going into like a tournament setting and your army list with the Deathwatch is going to be admittedly basically just tactical marines and very few Terminators probably, some dreadnoughts, some flyers. It's not quite as diverse. You lack a lot of the access to the basic Space Marine, bestiary or codex whatever you'd like to call it. I guess bestiary would be the wrong term. But this gives them a little bit more flexibility and more threat to some of the more common units that we see when we're on the battlefield. So definitely something that's good for them and gives them some flexibility. Although if you play against a real well-rounded force, you'll probably just end up taking the reroll ones against troops, since that'll be the most common type of enemy that you shoot against in most cases. So here's another stratagem. This is a Deathwatch stratagem for 2 command points. Now there's no hint yet that I read on whether or not there's going to be separate sub-factions, so perhaps all the stratagems are just going to be Deathwatch. I don't think they're the type of force that actually has sub-organizations, since they really are a team from different chapters of Space Marines. So this one says for 2 command points, you use this stratagem at the start of any of your turns after the first to change the current mission tactic for another one. If your warlord is a watchmaster, you can use this stratagem for 1 command point instead. So those above mentioned mission tactics, you start off with 1. In particular, you don't pay command points for it. It just is what it is. And then let's say you complete that roll. If you don't have a watchmaster as your actual warlord, you pay 2 command points to change it for the ability to reroll 1s to wound against other units. And then if a watchmaster is your warlord, you get to do this for 1 command point instead. It's nice, it's flexible, and it's not like psychic powers, so you're going to have access to it no matter what. So that's not too bad. Now here's some other special rules. Vigilance Incarnate says that once during the battle at the start of your turn, you can choose to change your army's current mission tactic for another one. So that's interesting. What does it say gives you the ability to get to that one? So that's a Warlord trait. Okay, if you'd rather not spend command points, the Vigilant Incarnate Warlord trait and the Tome of Ectoclades allow you to change or broaden your mission tactics for free. So let's look at the Tome of Ectoclades. And so this would be basically a book, a piece of war gear represented here. And it says, at the start of each of your turns, pick a mission tactic. Oh. Until the start of your next turn, you can choose to apply either the effects of the mission tactic that is currently active or the mission tactic that you have chosen for the Tome of Ecclesiastes to any Deathwatch unit from your army within 6 inches of the bearer each time they attack. So that is something else, because it just allows some flexibility, and I guess it goes to show how these mission tactics actually can become quite the operative tactic for the Deathwatch armies that are out there. So this is just a quick sneak peek. I'm not exactly sure when this army codex is actually going to go up for pre-order, but that's what we've got out there. Let's go back from the rumor engine and see what else we may have missed. So, because it's been about a week, right, guys? I was actually feeling like I was needing to make a new video really desperately yesterday, or 2 days ago, on Sunday. But as I sat down at the computer to do this, believe it or not, the power went out for the entire neighborhood, knocked out like a whole couple city blocks. And I said to my wife that because our neighbor's power went out, I assumed that it must have been somebody who crashed into like an electric pole or something. But turns out, as I went outside, that it was like pitch black. Thank goodness it was a full moon or close to a full moon. And I go out to the entrance of the neighborhood, and lo and behold, somebody had crashed their SUV into the electric box. So it was on the ground, and they knocked out power for like, I don't know, a quarter mile in each direction. Luckily, not the street lights, but the traffic signals were the only thing that were working. And that's a good thing, because out here we live on these country roads where it's very dark, and that could have been very disastrous, as there's enough accidents as it is. So let's take a look at what might else be there. And I don't think we missed anything else there. I'm not going to recap the Idoneth Deepkin, but the Leviathan's finally going to be coming available. So stay tuned for that. We'll have to do a breakdown on combat roster. Since it's free, everyone's going to have access to it. And it's just you've got the ability to go in, select your factions. And we'll do this as a separate video. So just kind of stay tuned for that. Again, hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned for some more videos from Budget Wargamer.